Hello and welcome. It's the chat. I am Manny. It was in 1986 that this 5-year-old girl burst on the Nigerian music scene with the song Children Arise. It was sensational. I was there, I saw it. Today she's 40 years old, and you won't believe it. What is she doing?
Tosin Jagada is a Nigerian singer. She was a child singing sensation in the 1980s. She is a prolific project manager, an education enthusiast, and the founder of the One Child, One Book project. Born 40 years ago, Tosin left the shores of Nigeria to further her education and studied business decision and analysis at the University of West England, Bristol. She's also an alumnus of the African American Institute's Transformational Leadership Program and Enterprise Development Center of Pan-African University, Lagos, and Cambridge Judge School of Entrepreneurship. Her musical career began at the age of 4. After visiting an orphanage, she left with the conclusion that music makes children happy. She released her first musical album, Children Arise, in 1987 at the age of 6. In 1989, she signed a record deal with Polygram Records at the age of 7, and she released 2 more albums, Leaders of Tomorrow and Children of Africa in 1989 and 1992, respectively. Tosin became an icon of the Nigerian child, sharing a stage with internationally recognized musicians like Fela Kuti, South African Yvonne Chaka Chaka. She represented the country at the annual Assembly of Children in Bulgaria and the first African Union meeting of African presidents attended by Nelson Mandela in Nigeria. She established the Tosin Jagada Foundation to raise awareness of issues of inequality and poverty. She briefly returned to Nigeria in 2008 to run her charity after identifying that education in Nigeria is hampered by the low reading ability of children in public schools in Nigeria. She initiated the One Child, One Book project to improve child literacy. Since 2012, the book distribution project provided access to colorful reading books to schools across 6 states in the country. This also allowed her to work with governments to create and coordinate events to engage with community stakeholders from primary schools to community groups, charities, government officials and organizations. Tosin has also worked at the UK Parliament in support of strengthening the modern slavery legislation in Commonwealth countries. The dogged educationist and music star currently lives in London, where she works as a project manager in the charity sector.
Hello, Tosin.
Hello.
How are you? Good to see you.
I'm very well, thank you.
I was talking about you being a 5-year-old when you burst on the Nigerian music stage.
Yes, that was a while ago. That was a long while ago.
Look at you now.
Thank you. Yes.
Do you remember your days as a 5-year-old? How did it start for you?
Of course, I remember. I think most of it, I don't think has been talked about much, is how my singing started with my parents having a gospel band. And they would actually perform. So from when I was a baby, I knew all the songs, I knew all the arrangements. They had a band where they had 2 guitarists, and one of them had a 2 head guitar, which apparently was a big deal then. I think it's still a big deal now, really, but yeah. It was that kind of a band, and I knew all the songs, I knew all the arrangements, and it was just really interesting doing that. That was me growing up, really. It was always quite interesting having that, and I remember the first time I actually sung, basically, or ever went on stage, was actually going with my parents as they went to perform at Unilag and the main auditorium, and they actually left me with someone in the audience and basically told her to take care of me and just watch me. And I remember when she actually let me stay with her for a bit. And then after a while, I was like, oh, no, I'm not staying with you. I want to go and meet my parents now. And most people knew that my parents were actually on stage. And got there, I knew my dad's song, went to meet my dad, yanked at his mic.
Can you hum that a little bit for us?
Ori
Hang on. Was it the first song you heard as a child?
No, it wasn't. It was I mean, there are different songs I heard as a child, really. Maybe my dad's songs I heard first as a child.
So how did this idea of you recording as a 5-year-old girl, how did it come about?
It actually came about from, I think, the first performance that I mentioned. After that one, if people were like, oh, why don't you actually get your daughter to sing? And why don't you get her to do something? I think it was actually when I visited SOS Children's Village Isolo with my parents, where my dad was actually, the band was performing at, I think, a fundraiser at SOS.
Did you know what you were doing then?
No, at all. I did not know what was happening there at all. I pretty much just showed up there, saw what was happening, and then I thought, actually, I saw children who did not have parents. I mean, to be honest, when I was there with them, I saw loads of children there. My dad told me that it was an orphanage, and obviously I felt really, really sad, because I was like, my parents would buy me ice cream, they'll buy me biscuits, but who does that for these children? Yeah. But then when I saw them, I actually saw that they were happy when the music came on, and I thought, actually, I want to sing for them to make them happy. And then a year later, or a few months later, actually came back and performed my first performance, which my dad wrote the song, and I performed it with my band. I remember, I still have memories of that day, and it was a fundraiser. And at that fundraiser in Lagos, people were like, oh, actually, they're saying to my parents, I think she should consider actually singing. And it was really from there that I think the inspiration to sing came along. So
when did you get on a bigger stage?
I think the launching of the first album was the largest stage. That's National Theatre, I got more.
That's a huge stage.
Yes. Oh, right. I think the only thing I remember about that space was how many children were running around. We invited children from different schools to come and perform at the luncheon. And so, yeah, at that venue, there are loads of children around. But then we also invited the first lady or the wife of the German ambassador, the wife of the French ambassador, and late Mrs. Miriam Babangida was the chief launcher. So we did have dignitaries there as well as the adults, in a sense, as me being a child. So it was quite a large venue, really. That was the largest stage that I had.
And you were really sensational, weren't you?
For me, yeah, sensational. I was little. I think that's what I really remember. I was so little. Because I remember in Abuja, the stage was actually at Nakanoga Hotel. I think it had just been built then. And it was the president of West Germany, President von Weizsäcker, who actually visited Nigeria, and I was invited to basically be one of the performers that welcomed him. And I remember basically being in that room, the whole of the ground floor full of people, and there were people on the balcony as well. And I just remember being so small in that venue. It was amazing.
At what age did you stop singing?
I stopped singing at 16 years
old. Really?
Yes.
At 16, you knew a lot of things. Maybe not the boyfriend, but yeah, you knew your pathway in singing, and then you stopped. Then what could have happened?
I mean, I started from when I was 5. Recorded the first album at 5, released it at age 6, at 16. So it was actually a bit of just deciding that, okay, I think I want to be able to grow up and just be myself, or have an opportunity to do something that is not just limited to this box of the expectation of what I should be. So those are the kind of things that I felt was really important to me. I think there are 3 things that I really remember that stood out for me. Was I remember actually basically having on radio, I think it was a professor that was saying something like, or to someone like Sanjay cannot study in Nigeria, and I was thinking, okay, why would he say such a thing? And talking about how the conditions were not right for someone that's had the experience I've had, and I just thought, okay. So I was just like, maybe I should think about this. And then a few months later, my dad gave a young guy a lift to Ibadan, and while they were in the car, I remember he said to me that my music came on the radio, and my music came on the radio, and he said to they were listening to the music and they were having a conversation. And while that was going on, my dad said to him, the boy was saying actually that basically this girl cannot sing. She cannot basically come to stay in university in Nigeria. It's not very safe. Cold boys would disturb her. And I think my dad was like, okay, let him talk. And I said, oh, that's my daughter, and the guy said, no, don't let your daughter, and I think that concerned my dad. But when the dad came back, he told me as well that that's something that was said. And I understood what he meant. I understood where that came from, because at that stage, cultism was an issue. Safety for me, again, was an issue. Being a woman, being at school, being away from my family, there's just all of those issues that were, they were really rife, really. So that was something that that I think I was also concerned about. And I thought, okay, this is because I am a celebrity, in quotes, in that way.
And then you thought the safest place for you was the United Kingdom.
Safest in so many words. I think when I first moved to the UK, I really didn't want to be here. I was like, oh my God, I want to go back to Nigeria. How long do I have to be here? There's so many other things going on in Nigeria at that time as well. But I think the thing for me was really, this was the next step. This was the next stage for me. This was the next place I had to live in. And yeah, I just adjusted and just found a way to get into the system of being here and just accepting this as my new home.
Now that, you finished your education and you are at work. You work now, don't you? What do you do?
I work with a charity and I run a charity.
What's your charity called?
It's called One Child, One Book.
What is it about?
So it's about improving literacy for primary school children. I think one thing I observed, so I should mention, I actually came back to live in Nigeria in 2008, and I was out in Nigeria for about 8 years, where I was basically just trying to find out what we could do. Again, from the singing, seeing orphanages and being around children, there was something about wanting to do something to help children. And when we kept asking questions, and when I kept asking questions in a way, I think from what I saw was education being the leveler. And it was just really important. I just thought, actually, I think the way we're going to actually have an intervention with people's lives would be working with children and working at the stage of primary school level, and reading was the most important thing. So I remember going into a classroom really early on when we were actually putting together the research findings of the project, and going into a year 4 class and seeing that the year 4 children were struggling to read 2-letter words. I remember a report came out a year later by USAID that was saying that children in Lagos were reading 2 years behind their reading level. And that was pretty much what we're seeing. So your primary 4 children are reading at primary 2 level. And outside Lagos, that the case was much worse. So for us, it was how do we intervene there? And it was about providing colorful storybooks that were both books that children could relate to. So we wanted to make sure that they were providing books that did not have Santa, did not have snow, or things that children did not even understand in Nigeria, but books that were relevant. So names like Toby, things that were things that children will see on a day-to-day basis, and get them to read those kind of colorful books.
And so you decided to close the chapter on your music career, didn't you?
I did. In a way, I kind of wanted to. The reason why I did music was always about helping children and supporting children. And so that's why I really wanted to work on a charity next. And I had to make a decision, do I work on a charity or music?
If you had decided to carry on with your music career at 16, 17 or whatever, what do you think would have happened now?
I don't know. That I never know really what would have happened.
I read where you said you were scared of Fela.
Yes.
Tell me about your encounter with him.
Yeah, it was a National Theatre. I remember there was an event where I was performing there. I can't remember what the event was. I was basically sharing the stage with Fela in that at that event. And I think it was a situation where maybe the artists were in the green rooms and just basically going to go and visit different artists. And I remember being with my manager at the time and being in the doorway of this room where there were quite a few artists that I recognized. So I remember Fela, I think at this stage, he was at the topless stage where he didn't wear a shirt anymore, just wore his trousers. And I remember looking at this room, and I remember seeing Oyeka Nwenu being in that room as well. And my manager said, come in. But there were lots of adults there. I was the only child. I was so small there. And everyone just looked so much taller to me. And he was like, I was like, oh my goodness.
What do you think? What do you think of him now?
Oh, Fela is a legend. He's a legend. I mean, I listen to his music today. His music is still applicable in many ways. It still has the same wisdom, the arrangements, the musical sound, the beats. It's so relevant. It was like the building blocks. It's still something that people can listen to now, and you just connect with it. So yeah, he was well ahead of his time. Amazing.
Okay, pick a question.
I'll pick question 2.
Okay, right. So
Okay.
read out the question and answer the question.
Should you return to the Nigerian music scene, who would you wish to collaborate with? Ooh, okay. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to go wide on this one.
Go on.
Hope you allow me. I think the first person I thought about immediately is Yami Alade.
Really?
And yes, and I thought about her because she represents like me, a Yoruba and an Igbo side, which is interesting for me. Many people don't really know that, but I can't speak Igbo like she can. I wish I could.
What part of you is Igbo?
My mom's side.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I'm
Okay.
Ekiti and Imo. So yeah. I think another person I really like is Wande Cole. I don't know. I just really like Wande Cole. Yeah. And Don Jazzy. I think Don Jazzy would be great too. And I also have a friend called Ada Ehi who does gospel. So yeah, she would be cool. It would be good to like stand on stage together. So yeah, I think those are the people that I think I would. And I think it will be fun projects.
If you came back to Nigeria and you were offered the job of education minister, what are the important things you'd like to do?
Oh my. I think the first thing with my passion with education is make sure that basic education is truly free and make sure that we have the capacity to ensure that happens. If we can do that, I think that's the beginning of the solution. So what this means is making sure that the schools that exist are equipped with chairs, desks, books, writing material. I think we should be able to provide that. Making sure that children who want to come into schools have access to uniforms. I think we should be able to subsidize that, to be honest. And then being able to provide food, I think that's something that government has been trying to do, but I would say just making sure that they have the equipment, first of all, in the classrooms. And then if it's government or charities, if we know, okay, we're only going to supporting the government with food for children in schools, at least we know what it is. But having that capacity of the classrooms, the buildings, the materials, the teachers, having the training, I think that whole sense of basic education is so important.
What else do you think might be missing in Nigeria, apart from education?
I think education is the most important in so many ways, because if from education you go into financial literacy, you go into understanding how you build a business, you go into how do you manage the information that you have, how do you turn information into a business, how do you educate yourself in a way? It's almost like sometimes you think education is just classroom, but there's so many things around it. So I would say there's almost like a reorientation that needs to be done with people's minds. I think definitely leadership has to understand their role as leadership and them being the role models. So whatever we see leaders do, just know that the children are copying, the university students are copying. Okay. So it's understanding that gap exists.
There was something that reminded me of, when you left Nigeria, you were leaving because you were scared of being kidnapped.
Mm.
Did you know about, at what age were you at that time that you were scared of being kidnapped?
I think I was about 15 at that time. It was around that whole sense of the whole idea of cult boys and basically going to university. I think that's really what it was. And I think amazing, the press, but having that headline. But that was really what that was about. And I think I kind of touched on that, in terms of safety, that was a concern. That was a concern.
Do you still feel that way now?
No, it's so funny. When I came back in 2008, I think people were so concerned that how are you going to adjust to Nigeria? I was driving everywhere. Some days. I was running a charity, so I love that. And again, that's why I chose doing the charity. I got to experience different things. The amount of times that I would get lost in traffic in Ajegunle. I meant that there was a day that my tire got stuck in a manhole by my cemetery, right in front of cemetery in Ajegunle.
Wow.
And there were these two guys that were smoking on the corner. That I had to basically come out in my long skirt and my white shirt, this little corsage on me, and just, you guys, please, I beg, can you help me? Because I don't know. Like, I had to change my accent as much as I could, and they helped me move the car. One of them drove the car out. I was like, guys, I only have 150. Here's 500. Please just manage it for me. I was like, nah, Auntie, no problem. You know. So safety. I went into some areas in Lagos that I just enjoyed, and it was just work. I mean, the schools I've gone into, I mean, there's a school in Bariga. I remember when you would drive off the road, the main road from Yaba, and you just keep going down, and the road is not a road anymore. You just keep going down. You think you're going to hit the water, but again, it's just, so I got to, again, for me, there was something beyond that. And I think for me, that's always the thing. There has to be something there has to be a passion. There has to be something that motivates me to want to do something. So
you are not worried, are you, Tosin, about recent reports of kidnapping in Nigeria?
I am concerned about those reports. Yes, I am absolutely concerned, because everything that I've mentioned now, I don't think in any way, if it was 2020 or 2021, I would have been able to do any of these things. I would not have been able to. Are
you looking to come back?
I would love to come back. I would love to be able to come to Nigeria and do different things. At this moment in time, I think it's like, what's next? For me, there was a reason why I came back then to work on the charity project. So the next thing is now, what's next? And really, that's pretty much what I'm still mulling over. And at this moment in time, what we did then is what helps other charities work.
Can I help you?
Okay, go on. I'm open to ideas.
Are you married?
Not yet.
Why not?
I'm not married yet. It's just what it is. What can I say? What do you say?
Maybe you probably come back. Maybe you're coming back to look for one. The right, Mr. Right.
But there's internet now, isn't there?
Oh, okay.
There's internet. There's so we don't need. I don't need to come back and look.
All right. So you're busy on the internet.
I'm busy on the internet. Yes.
Now let's take you away from home on a castaway journey.
Yes.
What 5 items would you take along? Remember, no boyfriends, no.
I think the first thing I can think of is, hope it's not cheating, Castaway Island. So I expect it to be sunny. So I will take my sunglasses. Then I will take my phone.
Yeah.
And a power pack, because it will die. I will take my earphones, because I want to listen to some audiobooks and then some music and maybe make a call to say, this is where I am. And I'll take some sunscreen, because my friend is an advocate for beauty skincare, so she'll kill me if I don't have my sunscreen with me. So yeah, I think I'll just make sure that I'm okay, and hopefully I'm not there for a very long time. Yeah. Those are the 5 things I will take.
What's the most important thing to you in life?
Being happy. Being happy. It's something I think I figured out is something that was so important to me from a very long time ago. There's so much pressure. There's so much expectations from people that you know, people that you don't know. And that whole sense of just that internal self and happiness is so important. That's what's most important to me.
Tosin Jegede, you are joy.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks a lot for being on this program.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I'm so glad I'm here.
It's been fun hearing from you. 35 years ago. Well, it's been nice having you on the program, The Chat. Do you get to watch it while you're there?
I do. I get to catch it on YouTube.
All right, excellent. Okay, have fun.
Thank you so much, Manny. Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Tosin Jegede on The Chat this week. I am Manny. See you next time. The Chat is produced by Channels Television. You can watch it again online. Just visit our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook.